once I found out that they were like kind of in love with her, and that's why they were like, oh, well, but like, we'll raise your kids for you, and it's like, oh, so you guys are supposed to be like the uncle figures. Kind of now your relationship with Jinx is kind of weird, Soko. You're supposed to be like her father figure, but like you're not related. And I'm just like, man, I'm getting Usagi drop vibes right now. Like, this is not.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Anime Club After Dark, the podcast that delves into all things anime, manga, and otaku culture related. I'm your host, Alex, but you can call me Senpai, and joining me tonight, I just have our czar of source material, John.
Oh, the misery.
Everybody wants to be my enemy. Oh my goodness. Yes, we are here tonight to talk about Arcane Season 2. A little bit different. I guess it's not really anime, but it's animated. And we did
This has been a fight for the last 4 years.
I know.
When did Arcane 2021, right? 3 years.
Yeah.
And it was you and Natai last time from 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was just myself and Natai. Yeah.
Before we did video.
Yes. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah. But I remember I went to go watch Arcane after you guys would not shut the fuck up about it. Because, I'm hype adverse. I hate things that are popular.
And it's also League of Legends. I mean, let's be honest.
I don't hate League of Legends. I've made that abundantly clear. I do not hate League of Legends. I don't hate the character designs in League of Legends, especially. Like
League of Legends players, though.
League of Legends, the game itself, is kind of just like, I don't think they're hot takes. I think they're the hard truth that no one really wants to swallow, but it doesn't matter. But I went to go watch Arcane Season 1, and I was, like, blown away. I was like, oh my god, it's actually really good, guys. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I
promise, like, guys, it's good.
That's what we've all been saying. I'm like, okay, but you all said Game of Thrones was good, and look at how that turned out, so...
No, I said the first season was good.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I didn't even get... I watched the first episode of Game of Thrones and went, this is really boring. Nothing happened for 40 minutes. So I think I watched the first episode of Game of Thrones on the flight to meet you for the first time to Florida.
Really? Back in 2016?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's when I watched the first episode.
That's crazy.
And I went, well, this sucks. And then I went to watch anime instead.
I mean, you made a good choice, I think. You made a really good choice. Not coming to see me was your first mistake, though.
I don't know if people in the A Song of Ice and Fire fandom, that's the name of the books, right?
I think,
A Song
yeah,
of
that's,
Ice and Fire.
yeah.
I don't know if people in that community think this is a conspiracy theory or a hot take, but I personally think that D&D adapted the ending of the A Song of Ice and Fire, how George R.R. Martin, is that his name? George R.R. Martin?
Yes.
Gurm. How Gurm wanted it to end. I've heard it's Gurm and Jert. I'm gonna call them by their initials now.
Gurm and Jert. Oh boy.
J.R.R. Tolkien? No, Jert.
And George R.R. Martin.
Gurm. So I think that Gurm told D&D that's how he wanted to end the books, and this is why the last book hasn't come out, because he wanted to end it this way, and after the severe backlash of the last season of Game of Thrones, he just like, well, shit, I have to rewrite everything, but this is how I wanted to end it, and this is why he hasn't released it, because he doesn't know how to make it end better.
I completely agree with you. I think the only reason it's taking him so long is because he that was how it was supposed to end, and he saw the horrific reaction people had to it, and he's like, oh shit, I've written myself into a corner. How the fuck do I get out of this?
Yeah, I don't know how he's gonna unwrite it. Which is why I don't know if this is a conspiracy
alternate
theory.
Universes.
Maybe they'll do alternate universes. It's like they find the wild runes or some shit. Yeah. But
Arcane.
Yeah, Arcane Season 2. I made a comment about saying I didn't know how Season 2 was gonna like end good, because this is based on a video game, and there are certain characters in the video game, so obviously they can't freaking like die or anything. That was my thought process.
Yeah, nothing can really happen to them that'll take them out of the equation.
Yeah, it's like they have to be in the universe, but I think that season 2 does have plot devices that make it so they can do a lot with the story.
Yeah.
There are character deaths for people from the video game, and I'm like, oh, well then.
Yeah, and I think that's something to point out. As much as this is a spoiler cast for the show Arcane, we might talk about some stuff with the video game too. I don't know how much we'll get into that.
Not much. I don't play League. I just
I don't either. I just know
stare at
some of the
pictures of girls from League.
You look at the PNGs, right?
And yeah, I watch. I look at PNGs and stare at movies.
Yes.
MP4s. I watch MP4s and dot movies, dot mobs.
No, but I think that was one of the things that kind of worked in not just season 2, but season 1's favor too, is that League of Legends, for as much as people like it and as much as people play it, doesn't have an enormous amount of lore to work with. So I think that gave the people that wrote this a lot of freedom.
Right. Within reason, they had to pull some plot devices to make it like its own story, which I liked, but also I have like issues with the story.
One of my biggest,
I think that studio or not studio, they're not Studio Fortiche. Fortiche Production is what they're actually known as. I was reading this on the IMDb page. Someone put in like the trivia section. It's like Fortiche made a music video for Riot back in 2013, and Riot was like, "Yo, that was so cool, dude. Do you want to make a movie?" And then here we are. Apparently, they took them several years to create like season 1.
Yeah, like 6 years. I think they worked on it.
Yeah, well, if they released it in 2021. 2013 is when Riot said, "Hey, do you want to make this?" I think they did say they worked on it for 6 years, so
yeah,
it would have been about 2015 that they were they started working on it.
Yeah, if you take it at face value that the first meeting was in like 2013 or even if say early 2014, then pre-production probably would have started sometime within a year from then.
Yeah. So I remember after season 1 ended, Netflix and Fortiche was like, "Yeah, we're working on the second season right now. It's gonna come out way faster than the first season. It's not gonna take 6 years. It took 3 years, which is a lot faster. It's twice as fast."
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
I mean, also the second season is supposed to be Arcane's last, though not going to be the last League of Legends animated thing that gets made.
And I think what that means is, look, if you know Riot Games, you know that they like to milk as much as they can from anything. For example, I got into League because of a K-pop song. Like the KDA shit that they were doing, absolutely banger of a song. Absolutely love the character designs, like the Ari, the Kase, whatever her name is. Kaisi, I don't remember her freaking name.
She never shows up in Leagues or in Arcane, so I don't know.
No, none of these characters show up in Arcane. And Fortiche, you had one thing you had to do for me to rate it the best fucking thing ever. Show me Seraphina. Let me see Seraphina in her glory. You didn't show me Seraphina. Madly upset. Absolutely upsetty. But yeah, like because of that the KDA song. What the fuck was it even called? I listen to it every day, and I don't even remember what it's called.
I have not a clue.
It's the League. Everyone knows it. The League of Legends song that made it wildly popular, and it spawned like countless fucking outfits. Well, the song was so madly popular that it increased a bunch of player base, and everyone started buying the KDA outfits. So they made more. They added more people into the KDA outfits, and they were just like, "Oh, let's just turn all these girls into these outfits and just make money." Riot is known for doing this. So with the insane success of Arcane, I don't know how successful it has been in terms of money, because I think how people make money off of streaming is weird. Like how they get payback or royalties for it. I don't really actually understand how that's supposed to be tracked and stuff like that. It's not like, because with TVs and movies, you have direct sales. You have
Yeah. You have
merchandise
box office
and
returns for
box
movies.
office
You have
returns, and then you have advertisements.
for
Advertisers
TV.
pay for your time slots, so
Yeah.
you'll be paid by the TV stations for your content based on how many views you get and how many people are watching your ads or watching ads while they're watching your show. So we have direct numbers for that, for how you can get paid. I have no idea how it's paid through streaming, other than like,
No.
here's
But
a
we
certain
know-
percentage of, like, how do they? I'm assuming it's got to be way less than TV ads, because the advertisers, you can't advertise while you're watching stuff online while you're streaming.
Well,
At
unless
least
you're
not
on
yet.
Amazon Prime Video.
Yeah, unless you're on Amazon Prime Video, which, see, Amazon Prime is more like just TV but online, so that one makes more sense to me. How Netflix does it doesn't make sense, though. I heard that they're rolling out ads eventually.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have like a lower price tier that will have ads on it. I don't know. I think we're just slowly getting back to actual television at this point.
We're already at television. I have so many different bundles for streaming services where I'm basically paying for cable.
We might not have like a good approximation of how much this made, but according to Fortiche themselves, with the first and second season combined, they spent about $250 million on this, which is wild to me.
Yeah, like, obviously this was a high value production because God, season 1 was animated so well. It looked
And
really
season 2
good.
is even more beautifully animated.
Season 2 is even fucking better. Though I will say every episode of season 2 starts off the exact same. And what I mean by that is they will play licensed music and basically kind of have like a AMV or a montage of like someone's story or a storyline that they want to tell you about the episode.
Yeah.
And every episode starts off like that, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, it gets you into the episode. At least for the first episode, it really hooked me because I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Season 1 ends. Jinx blew everything up. And now we open in season 2. Hey, remember, everything just got blown up like 3 years ago. But yeah, remember this? It's like, oh, shit, yeah, that's right. Super crazy. I really liked the artistic designs they went with in season 2. I think like the whole charcoal drawing,
The funeral sequence was beautiful.
I love that. I love the it looked like watercolor painting to me when they did a couple scenes like that with like the happy memory stuff. Yeah. And I'm just like, this looks really fucking good. It's well executed. But I question how much of the budget was for just the music, because Arcane has OSTs, they have soundtracks, and then they have the
licensed music. They got licensed music and scores.
And scores, yeah. So the soundtrack is licensed music, and they like released it preemptively, I believe, before Arcane season 2 came out. Of like, hey, here's a list of all the songs that are going to be on here. Here's a Spotify playlist. Here's an Apple Music playlist if you want to listen to Arcane's songs. So I'm like, okay, they spent a shit ton. So they had 11 licensed songs in the first season. They had double that in season 2, 22.
Yeah, 22.
From people like Stray Kids, 21 Pilots, and obviously Imagine Dragons. I did not know that the song Enemy by Imagine Dragons was made for Arcane. I legit thought it was just an Imagine Dragons song, honestly.
Yeah. It is legit made for the show.
I always reference it because I go, oh, the misery. I always like saying it. It's because it's so fun to say.
I think it's funny that a lot of people
know.
A lot of people don't realize that the Oasis song "Falling Down" was literally made for the anime Eden of the East.
Is it?
Yeah, it was made for the anime.
Yeah, see, like that. I mean, that's just power to the bands that make their songs, because it's like it was made for a specific show, but it's just so good that everyone else listened to it. Because I'm pretty sure all the people, I've heard Enemy so many times on the radio.
That you're Pavlov now. Every time you hear "Oh the Misery."
Yeah, every time I hear "Oh the Misery," and I just like saying it because again, it's just fun to say. Oh the misery.
It sounds like a line out of Shakespeare. Not gonna lie.
But yeah, I wonder how much of their budget was just for the music, because that's a lot of music to license, especially if you're not like Sony. You know, so like for example, Sony movies like Spider-Verse, shit ton of licensed music in it. They
it's
own
all Sony Music Group licensed.
Yeah, it's all Sony Music Group music though. So they're chilling because if they can use it. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense why they'd use so much licensed music when they own it.
Yeah.
But for a studio to do that, and it was because it was Netflix and Fortiche, right? Or Riot,
Yeah.
no, Riot Games and Fortiche, for them to get this budget and spend it on this much music, and like, does it really enhance it? Like,
I think in some places, yes, it does.
well, in season one, I thought I think it should be more about how effectively you use pieces of music than it should be about like the quantity. Because in season one, I didn't find anything wrong with the scoring. The score in both of these are fantastic, and I found 3 credits. Yes, I found so the OP for this was "Enemy" by Imagine Dragons. Again, crazy, did not know that. Featuring Jid.
I always say JID because it's all capitalized.
The series composers. So I found there's 3 series composers: Alexander Temple, Alex Seaver, and Andrew Kirschenbaum. They did an excellent job with the actual score. I really liked how good the score was. So I don't understand why they need to license so many songs, because in season 1 I thought it was executed fine. The story was great and the sound design was great. So the it wasn't just like licensed music that brought me to it. I get that they wanted to do like a whole not that I shouldn't complain too much because I loved how Chainsaw Man did that. So like it was an artistic thing, right?
Yeah,
but
well, like, and I loved how in season 1 you end off with that beautiful song sung by Sting. What could have been? Like, that was a fantastic song to end off with.
Yeah,
especially now knowing what happened, it's like, holy crap, that song makes a lot of sense now.
But I think it's about how you should effectively use the music, not about how many freaking licensed songs you have in the score.
True. It may have been a little overkill to double the amount of licensed music for the second season, especially considering that they had the same amount of episodes and roughly the same amount of runtime.
Well, because the structure of each episode in season 2 ends just kind of like TV does. Like if you've ever watched House or CSI, they all end the same way, with licensed music playing while the characters think about stuff that's happening. And it's like, this is a very TV-like thing to do. And they did that in season 2. Yeah. And they're using licensed music for that, for the endings. But also they're using licensed music for the beginnings. And they like the little AMV things, which I thought was cool. But I just don't know if it was really worth it to waste all that money on just licensed music, because it's not like these scenes really were important to the plot.
But, I mean, a lot of them had great visual aspects to them. So, I mean, in that sense, I liked it
I just thought it was a weird choice to, like, double the licensed music.
Well, yeah, and especially since the people who were composing the actual score did such a phenomenal job with the actual scored music that's in this. It's like, let them cook.
Yeah, but, that's just, like, a thing I had an issue, a kind of like, not really an issue, but just like a question about. Yeah. Like, what the heck, Fortiche? Why would you decide to do that? Why would you decide to piss away money?
Yeah, I guess they could have probably saved a little bit of money by not having as much licensed music. Certainly not double what they had.
I just don't think it was as effective as they wanted it to be. Maybe. I don't know. I just thought it was.
But if you consider how they started with this, making a music video, it kind of makes sense.
Right, making a Jinx AMV, right? Get Jinxed.
Yeah, Get Jinxed. It was the AMV for Get Jinxed. If you consider how Fortiche kind of started this association with Riot, I mean, it makes sense that they'd want to focus on that a little bit.
I mean, tinfoil hats on, everybody. Fortiche originally started off as a production company to make AMVs or music videos. So they probably did the licensed AMV shit, like the licensed music for the AMVs at the beginning, as a bolster to their resume to be like, hey guys, look at these really cool scenes that we did for all these licensed songs. Please hire us.
Maybe. I will
Like
say
tinfoil hats. Like that's my theory.
I will say after seeing both season 1 and 2, I don't think Fortiche is going to have an issue with getting jobs, cuz like their work kind of speaks for themselves visually, at least.
I don't know about that because the budget was so high. There are a lot of studios that can do a lot with a really big budget and essentially unlimited time.
Well,
Like
and there's
six,
some that
9
can do
years,
a lot with
'cause
very
if
little.
you think about it, season 1 took 6 years and season 2 took 3 years. So a combination of 9 years for 2 seasons, that is a long production time. Very long. Most production cycles are done within like 2.5 years, I think.
For anime, yes.
For
It's
just
usually
things in general, like video games, for TV shows, like a season will be done over the course of a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
So for them to take essentially, I'd say 5 times as long, almost 10 years to do 2 seasons, it's like you had like essentially 5 years, 2.5 times as long as most people do to work on something with a budget that's like 5 times as big as most things.
Yeah.
It's hard to like, because when you're hiring a production studio to do things, when you're hiring a studio to do things, it's like, yeah, they do great work, but you got to let them cook with the budget and with the time. If you don't give them that, but it's like, not to knock Fortiche's ability. Like, you're right. They do fantastic work, but I have to say that that's not the only thing people look for, publishers look for in a production company.
True. But I do think they should be very proud of at least visually, what they were able to create. If nothing else.
Oh, yeah, dude. Season 2 is such a step up from season 1. I thought season 1 was good. And then they hit me in the face with season 2, where they just start incorporating
like all
more
kinds of
2D
different
effects.
visual styles and
Yeah,
cinematic,
a lot of different
like
effects.
camera work and
Yeah. Like when Echo's riding around on that the hoverboard, and then it has the pipe baton that he has, and it looks like it has a GoPro at the end of it. It's like, yo, this is pretty sick.
Well, you see the same thing a little bit earlier in the season, where Jace is running around in like that hellscape thing, and it's almost like there's a GoPro on the hammer that he's holding.
Yeah.
And he's walking through that crap. Really cool, like interesting camera work type stuff, cinematography stuff. They weren't afraid to change up like color palettes and color schemes. It was really fun to watch just as a visual thing. I will say, like, I guess getting into the story a little bit, my biggest fear going into this season, fear might be the wrong word. My biggest concern was going to be Silco, because of what happened to him. He dies at the end of season 1, obviously. And he's such a great antagonist for that first season, that I was wondering, how are they going to match and or top this? And to their credit, I think Mbessa is a decent antagonist, I think, but I don't know if she's anywhere near as strong as Silco.
I think the reason for that is, so have you played all of the Borderlands?
The Borderlands games?
Yeah.
I haven't played Tiny Tina's Wonderland or whatever it's
But did you
called,
play 1, 2, and 3?
Yes, 3 sucks.
Everyone agrees universally that 3 sucks, because everyone agrees that Borderlands 2 is the best as well. And the reason why Borderlands 2 is the best is because Handsome Jack is the best antagonist of the series.
Yeah, he's a fun antagonist, and Silco is a fun antagonist.
And the reason why they're fun antagonists is because they have a strong vision. They're men that are willing to do anything it takes to fulfill their vision, but they get lost halfway through and they go fucking nuts. With Handsome Jack, who was the spoilers for Borderlands, I guess. If anyone hasn't played Borderlands and knows the story, Handsome Jack is doing everything he has to do because he's trying to save his daughter. He's trying to save Angel, and he goes crazy in the process of trying to save Angel. Silco, in very much the same vein, goes crazy trying to keep the dream alive, as we learned in season 2. Like, you can understand that where he comes from when he was not betrayed by Vander yet, that he had great plans for Zon, for the Zonites.
He had a vision. He had an actual long-term vision.
Yeah,
for
and it's
Zon
just like,
and its sovereignty.
and he basically wanted to, make everything equal. He wanted to redeem everyone. And we learned that in season 2, later on in season 2, that the one who fucked it all up was Vander. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh Lord, it was Vander. And it's like, we knew that Vander betrayed Silco, but we didn't know what actually happened. So we had a little bit of backstory for that, which is very compelling, by the way. Loved it. Loved the actual, I liked seeing this. I don't know Violet and Powder's mom's name. I don't know if they ever said it.
I don't remember if they ever say it or not. And if anyone is watching this and knows what her name is, please tell us, because I genuinely can't remember if they ever said it in the show.
Yeah, but I think that Mbessa is not that great of a villain because she's not as compelling to watch as Silco was. Because
I mean, the ambition stuff is understandable. Like, she lets herself be clouded by ambition, which for an antagonist is a fine enough motivation, I think. But
no. I think the issue is that Mbessa has a clear fear of something. She has a fear of the witches, the space witch.
Yeah.
Right. She has a fear of the people who are touched by the arcane, and we learn that in season 2 as we get deeper in the story. But it's like, okay, but we're not given reason for why we should be fearing the witches. But
she's also a hypocrite because you see her protecting herself with arcane stuff to make sure that she doesn't get taken by those witches.
Yeah, but it's like because she has a fear of because Mbessa is from a warmongering race of people that go around and conquer, and they love battle.
She's from Noxus,
And she talks about how, like, to Noxians, it is the ultimate honor to die in battle. So,
they're like the culture. League of Legends versions of Klingons from Star Trek.
A warrior cult who go around warmongering because they just like fighting. It's like, okay, relatable. I can see that. And they don't like the witches. At least Mbessa says they don't like the witches because they don't like that when you're fighting, you're not on equal grounds with these people who have who have arcane power. And I'm just like, yeah, I could kind of understand that, like you can see it in the Noxian weaponry, which is, again, this is great environmental storytelling because you see that the people on Runeterra are fighting with energy weapons, with like these type of uniforms and like all this tech. The Noxians are fighting with fucking crossbows and spears.
Yeah.
And they're fighting and they're winning. Because they're fucking just hard fucking warriors. And it's like, this speaks a lot. And this is great character, great storytelling about the characters, the Noxian character. Because it's like, you can see it in their getup.
Yeah.
How warfaring they are. You can
see it in the way they dress. You can see it in the way they carry themselves. You can see it in the weapons that they use.
Yeah. And it's like, Mbessa, she she likes having the best weapons and tech possible, anything to help bolster her forces, but you can see the pride that the Noxians have, which is, again, super cool to me. I like that.
Yeah.
But her fear of the space witches and stuff, we don't know the extent of the power of the space of the arcane, the people touched by the arcane. We don't know what they're actually capable of and why we should be fearing them. All we know is, well, Runeterra wasn't that bad off, and we know that Runeterra was touched by the arcane before, and it destroyed civilizations, and we should just be afraid. So it's like there's this ambiguous tale that, the arcane is probably bad because of things that happened. Like it can't be controlled, it can't be tamed, and yet we have this cult of space witches that apparently can tame the arcane. And it's like, so which one is it? Should we be afraid of the arcane, or should we just like, who are these witches? They didn't expand anything about that, which I thought was like a plot hole. I'm like, maybe it'll be reserved for future projects where they talk more about like the arcane.
Which, to be fair, they have already announced that they are going to be future projects. It's not going to be Arcane. Arcane was just 2 seasons and done, but I don't know if these projects are necessarily going to be like a continuation of Arcane, just not Arcane, maybe just the same universe, different characters, or what. But I mean, so stuff that we might see now as plot holes could end up getting resolved later, but I guess in the absence of knowing that, we have to kind of treat them as plot holes.
Yeah. It's just weird to me because they have so many small details inside of the show that show how much they really care about the lore of Arcane. Because, example, when Kate finally takes over, because Kate's mom dies, so she becomes the new head of House Killmonger or whatever the fuck her. I don't remember her.
Kiraman.
Yes, thank you, Kiraman. She becomes the new head of House Kiraman. Apparently, this elite force that has ruled over Seoul or whatever they're freaking. I don't remember. I don't remember very many things about like names and places in this universe because I'm like, that's not important. The only thing important was Serafina, Kate, Violet, Jinx, all the hot girls. Only they were important.
If you were a guy, no one cared. Sorry, Jace.
Yeah, who? Honestly, when Jace showed up, I was like, who the fuck is this? I don't remember this guy.
What, you don't remember Jace and his twink? What?
Victor?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, Robot Jesus.
Yeah, Hextech Jesus. What do you mean?
Dude, I fucking hate Jace. But, yeah, like, when Kate takes over, and she's, like, going through the archives of House Kierman, and they talk about, like, the Gray. It's, like, this pollution waste. And it's like, House Kierman will install these vents because we want better for the underground people, for the Zonites. And as it turns out, it was all a farce. They were actually using these vents as entry points to go wherever they need to go to in the underground and fuck people up. And they were using the Gray, purposely sending it in places to dissipate like riots and fuck people up. And it's like, oh shit, that's really fucked up.
Her family kind of evil.
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit, her family kind of like the KGB. That's not good. I thought they'd circle around to that, and they didn't. Which is like,
yeah, I feel like
because I thought that was a good story thread. Because here we have when we have House Kiraman, we have like the old ways, right? We have like what the mom was. She's the protector of the upside, and everyone universally loved her because she was always thought of the upper echelon first, never caring about the people at the bottom. So she's good. She's good military police for the people up top. But here we have Kate, who has actual ideals, and she's like, oh, I have to protect the weak. Everyone should be equal, and that gets challenged in season 2, which is great. So I thought this was going to be a thread that they go back around to. They never did.
Yeah, I would have liked it if maybe she had some kind of internal wrestling with that, because I know that they're trying to make it look like after the funeral that she's like, she wants revenge because, she, despite all of her mother's faults, she still loved her mother. And I thought that maybe she was going to wrestle internally with finding out that, oh my God, my parents or my family was kind of evil all these years, using these.
Well, so you got to think back to season 1, right? Where Kate is still fucking naive and things like, oh, we're the military police. We're helping the citizens. We're right. We're good. And then it's a great contrast against Powder and Vi because it's like their parents were murdered by the military police, and the Zonites are super fucked up by the military police. There's abuse of power, and it's like all this fucked up shit.
Which is, that kind of plays into how Vi reacts when Caitlyn offers her like a commission within the guard. She's almost like violently reacts to it. It's like, do you know what those fuckers did to my parents?
Yeah. Literally all in the first episode.
Yeah.
Great, but again,
I mean,
like
the
I said,
opening episode of the season is phenomenal.
I was hoping they'd circle back to that. They never did. And it's like, why wouldn't they? Maybe they're gonna do something about it later on. I have no idea, but
maybe I hope so.
It's kind of just weird how
it's a plot thread that's dangling.
Yeah, it's weird that they close some threads, but they leave other ones just there, and it's like, why did you include it in the first place?
Yeah,
It's I don't want to say that they mentioned it just to be like, oh yeah, this is why the Gray exists, and it's just a plot device to move the plot forward.
Yeah,
because why would they do that when everything else has like a reason? It just didn't make sense. On top of like the other shit that doesn't make sense in season 2.
True. One thing I did like is how there were a couple of characters that got a little bit of screen time in season 1, but not an enormous amount, that became pretty major characters in season 2. One of them, which is a character who I think is only in a handful of scenes, as I recall, in season 1, is Singe, the doctor guy. The one who, I guess, creates Vander Wolf thingy.
He creates Shimmer.
He's the doctor who created Shimmer.
The the mentor of Victor in the underground. I
He's
honestly
not,
I had zero idea who this man was. That's how little of an impact he had on me in season 1. I was like,
exactly.
because at
He's
first I was
only
looking
in
at him like,
maybe a
well,
couple
he's
of
missing an
scenes.
eye. This can't be Silco. Silco's dead. He doesn't have the same accent. I'm like, who is this man? Now I will forever remember him as Mr. Freeze, because his entire story plot thread is that he's basically Mr. Freeze. He wants to revive his daughter.
Yeah,
who's dead.
the only difference between him and Mr. Freeze is Mr. Freeze wants to revive his wife. That's literally the only difference. One
he wants to
revive
bring life
his daughter,
to
and
someone
one
who
wants
is
to revive
destined to die. Yeah,
exactly.
like I'm gonna call him Mr. Freeze from now on.
But no, I mean there's also like Echo. Echo doesn't have a major part to play in season 1, but he does in season 2. That's one thing I love, the way Echo kind of developed in season 2, especially by the end, where he just basically becomes a time traveling superhero.
Yeah. So we learned that with the upper echelons of the High Council dead, and with the power, there's a huge power vacuum, so everyone's just fucking fighting.
Both in Piltover and Zon, which is something else I liked. It was a nice like theme of at least the first half, I would say, of this season, that like without effective leadership, all societies just break down.
Yeah. I really liked how the Cambarans just like started fighting amongst each other
immediately.
The
second Silco is gone, they immediately start fighting amongst themselves,
which is like why Silco was trying to take over, because he's like, I can't leave it to you fucking idiots. And he was right.
He knew this would happen without him.
Yeah, shame he doesn't have any contingency plans for that.
Yeah,
I thought that the whole Cambaran stuff, or yeah, they're called Cambarans, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was a little dumb that they left a bunch of that in. Like, yeah, sure, they're fighting, but it had no bigger, like, play on anything.
I guess
inside
the
of
only
it, like,
thing,
other than the show, like, yeah, they just kind of are here to incite violence, and then they get killed.
Yeah, I guess they definitely serve to show that Zon is slowly devolving into anarchy without Silco there to kind of rein everybody in. But it also kind of serves to show that like Jinx becomes like this rallying force, because she was sort of, I guess I wouldn't, unfair to say that Silco was grooming her to take over, but a lot of people know that she was like close to Silco, so they kind of want her to take over. It's what's the one?
After
Savika
they lose Silco,
wants her to do it.
Jinx is the one who launches the attack on what's the top side called?
Piltover.
What a weird name. She's the one who launches the attack on Piltover and like takes a chunk out of them. So of course for Zon and the Zonites, they'd be like, hell yeah, like they took over and they destroyed. They came down here and always are poisoning us and always fucking us up, and then they killed our leadership. Like, fuck yeah, we're gonna believe in the lady who fucking went back and hit him back.
Yeah,
because at this point the Zonites, all they know is just to take it from the Piltoverians, Piltians, whatever you would call them.
Then the crazy thing is, like, with how season 1 ended, had Jinx not attacked they would have had the peace. Because they all voted to give Zon their sovereignty. Everyone on the council voted to give Zon their sovereignty.
I mean, so the problem here is that the council does not see the Zonites and Zon as equals.
They don't. They
can create a policy where it's like, we'll give them their sovereignty, but it doesn't mean they're going to treat them any better, because it's been so ingrained into their society that the people who live underground are worse off, and we just dump our pollution and our unwanteds down there.
Yeah.
And the only time we'll let them ever come up here is when we want to do illegal fucked up things, like weird drug stuff.
Yeah, or if we need something from them specifically.
Yeah, so I don't think that the council passing that would have worked anyway, because there's a huge discrepancy in between like their statuses anyway. They're not on equal standing.
Yeah, which is a big part of the conflict between them. It's just because one doesn't see the other as really equal.
Yeah, and again, great from season 1. Nowhere seen in season 2, by the way. It kind of just goes past that. It's like, yeah, that's over. That was a season 1 plot thing. We're not going to touch that ever again. And I'm just like,
I mean, to
you
be
know,
fair,
I thought this entire
there's-
thing was supposed to be about like the clash between the two and a resolution. As it turns out, it was never about that. It's all about Hex Tech and Arcane. I'm like, oh, well, that's why it's called Arcane, I guess. But I thought it'd have a bigger plot thread that kind of tied it all together, but it didn't.
To be fair, there is a bit of a resolution in season 2 when some of the Zonites come to Piltover's defense near the end. I mean,
yeah, but
while Piltover probably still doesn't see them as necessarily equal, they definitely recognize
this was
they have
the
something to
crisis that
provide.
brought them together. Yes.
Yeah.
And which eventually ends with whatever her Sevica,
being added to the council as a representative for Zon. Yeah,
which was a good thing.
which I think that is a somewhat of a resolution to that plot line. I mean, maybe it's not. There's probably still a lot of people that wouldn't necessarily see them as equal, but it's a start. You know,
it's a
it's more
start
than they had
for
before.
sure. But again, they spent so much time doing in season 2 is they're chasing so many different plot threads, so many different ones, and I'm like,
which is something I
which
think
is
I can
fine if it all collapses and coalesces, but it doesn't all collapse and coalesce. They just have a overarching like, all right, well, I'm going to call it as it is. There's 3 main plots of season 2. Okay? There's the rune tech shit happening. There's the Violet and Caitlyn dilemma. And then there's Jinx. These are the 3 main stories that are happening. Even though it's more like 5 different subplots happening at the same time. Because I'm not going to include the Mbessa thing with the Space Witches. With Black Rose, because
no, but I would include her being like a puppet master behind the scenes for some stuff that's going on. I mean, that's definitely a plot thread that runs through the season.
Again, they did not do nearly enough to make me fearful of the Arcane. Like, other than it was dangerous.
I mean, even when they see what Victor becomes, I mean,
yeah, but they don't spend too much time divulging any of that. Speaking of fucking other plot holes, so Jace saves Victor. He becomes mechanical space Jesus. And it's like, okay, he's going to go and try to bring everyone salvation and all this other stuff.
He
and
literally becomes a Jesus figure. He heals through salvation.
He literally cures the sick and lame. The chematics.
I mean, it's kind of what they are. They're like chem addicts from Fallout.
Oh, chem addicts. I thought you said chematics, and I was like, what
no,
I don't
chem
know.
addicts. They're like the people in the Undercity that are like hooked on Shimmer. They're like chem addicts from Fallout.
That is true.
Hey, man, you got any more of this stuff?
But it's like, okay, so Jace tries to uncover the power of the Arcane. They go inside the Wild Rune, and then again, beautiful animation happens during this.
Absolutely.
Was it Jace, Echo, and
Heimerdinger?
They go into the thing, and they're just like super crazy effects are happening. But Jace gets teleported to like this hellscape, and he has to like battle it out in the apocalypse. I really liked
Dark Souls. He goes to Dark Souls.
He basically gets sent into a Dark Souls universe.
Yeah.
I like that they brought in this alternate universe thing because it makes now when we know that it's an alternate universe, things can happen in it that don't happen in League of Legends. So it's not as a predictable of an ending because there are certain characters who will die, and it's just like, oh, now that the stakes have never been higher. But I hate Jace, dude. He annoys the fuck out of me.
He's like, a man of progress, John.
He's so fucking annoying. It's his fault that everything happens.
I mean, that's kind of the point, though. It's hubris, because he was always lauded as this guy who created something that was great for Piltover and would lead to a lot of prosperity and progress. And then his invention and his creation just gets so far out of hand.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's a good story thread.
Yeah, it's par for course for Jace. He's literally the fucking worst. you know, he's on this mission where he's like, I promise I'd do this and stuff like that. And it gets answered at the end. This is one of those plot threads that they were chasing this entire time. That does get answered at the end.
Yeah.
The alternate universe that he gets teleported into, Victor succeeded in convergence. He turned everything into machine.
Mm-hmm.
And that left no one alive anymore. And he got what he wanted, eternal peace, but was
at
it
what
really
cost?
At what cost? Because he's still alive.
Yeah.
So Jace is like, I promised Victor I'd like do this, and and it's like, okay. So major plot hole here. We all know that Victor, he's space Jesus now, and when he touches people, he can instantly see all their memories, right?
Yeah.
He's like an empath. He can feel their emotions, and he's like, I am understanding now.
With effort. I mean, because you see it with the Vander thing when he becomes like the Wolfman, which apparently is a character named Warwick from the games. But when he touches him, he's like, I can feel that there's someone there, but the beast is in the way.
But when he touches normal people, he can just look at their memories. He doesn't even have to because their consciousness is there.
Yeah.
So if Victor had this ability,
Jinx.
if Victor has this ability, right? And he sent Jace back to our universe. Why doesn't Jace just go and like, hey, Victor, hold my hand? Like, put it there, pal! So that way he can get the memories from the other universe that he was just in. Which happens, by the way, at the end. And I'm just like, why didn't you do this in the beginning, bro? Like,
so I think
why did your first instinct when you came back was, I'm gonna slap the shit out of this motherfucker with my hammer? Like, what the hell's wrong with you, Jace? You could have ended this entire thing early. There would have not have been a war if you just went up to Space Jesus and instead of killing him in his sleep, you went, hey buddy, wake up. I got something to show you. Hold my hand. And then just showed him the fucking alternate universe memories of, hey, you're going to go down this path and it's going to lead to this. We're trying to avoid that. That doesn't make sense. What the fuck?
I think it makes a lot more sense if you realize that Jace doesn't get sent to an alternate universe. He gets sent to a future without him in it.
What?
He's not sent to an alternate universe. He's sent into the future in a time where he's not in the actual
He is literally right there. He is the mechanical doll. So in the alternate universe that he gets sent to is the universe where Victor succeeds in converting everyone. That hammer and that dude holding the hammer where he's like, why did you send me here? That's Jace, dude.
I don't think so.
Well, you're wrong because that's Jace.
I mean, maybe it is. I interpreted it as him getting sent to the future. Whereas Echo and Heimerdinger get sent to an alternate or parallel universe.
No, he gets sent into an alternate universe where Victor succeeded. And again, there's the hammer right there. That's him. He got turned into a mechanical doll.
Maybe he did. I don't know. It makes more sense if he got sent into the future.
I mean, he's in an alternate universe where the future of what was going to happen to his would have happened. But like I said, it's not the future of that. It's an alternate universe where it already happened. Point is,
maybe.
Point is, this is a huge plot hole that I'm just like, Jace could have just avoided. All of this could have been avoided if Jace didn't just try to kill Victor outright. If he just went, hey, touch my hand. Because Victor could have been
Put her there.
Because Victor has this ability to see memories, and he doesn't say jack shit about it to anyone. But
yeah,
why wouldn't he just like be like, oh, Jace, it's good, so good to see you. I've learned so many things. Come, let me show you the stuff. And it's like, nope, they don't communicate at all, and that's why all this has to happen. Then everything gets fucked up. I get that this all stuff has to get all fucked up first before you can actually start rebuilding Zahn and Piltover and have them be as equals. But there were so many countless deaths because of it. So was it really worth it? Like, it's not like Avengers Endgame where it's like there's only one timeline in which this works and it has to work with the sacrifice of someone, right? It's not like Jace went through an infinite number of alternate universes where he's
not
like
Doctor Strange.
No, but Victor in this universe, because he becomes the singularity. he does go
Space
to alternate
Jesus.
universes, and he understands that the only person who can do this is Jace. So I ask you again, Victor and Jace, why didn't you just tell Jace, hey, I have this ability to see people's memories? And again, he's lived through all these universes. He's done this a million times. Why doesn't he just tell that to Jace and go, hey, go to Victor in your universe to save us and just give him my memories? Why?
He needed all this to happen so that his boyfriend could come with him to the afterlife.
This is so dumb. Fuck. I was so upset with how this ended with that shit. I was just like, dude, I was like, okay, you can do alternate universe stuff. That's fine. I don't care. Power of rune of our wild runes and fucking arcane. Whatever. We don't know too much about it. It's space magic. Who cares?
Yeah.
And then they pull this shit. I'm just like, dude, that's such a big plot thread. I hate that.
I mean, I do like the fact that they don't go into exorbitant detail about how the magic works, and they leave a little bit of that up to just ambiguousness. Because I hate when fantasy stuff just over explains magic. It's like,
I didn't need
it's
to
magic.
explain me how the magic works. I just needed them to explain to me why it was so awful to bring magic to Runeterra. That's what I don't understand.
Which could be part of a future project.
I hope they expand more on it, because as it currently stands, all I understand is the Noxians fear it because they are upset that magic is stronger than people. It's like, okay. And I mean, as we've seen, people touched by the arcane basically become Jesus. They can do a lot of stuff, but it's unstable and it will lead to like
it's hard to predict what can actually happen. Yeah. I mean, judging from what Ida told me when we were watching it, because he plays League of Legends, apparently there's a person that was sealed away in the past because of in the lore of the game that was sealed away because people just decided to stop using magic. And now that people are using magic again, he can be unsealed and put back into the world. So maybe that's something they're kind of setting up for. I don't know. But speaking of like the alternate universes and stuff, the stuff we got with Echo and Heimerdinger was interesting, because like we see them go off and like they're with Jace when they both disappear, right?
Yep.
But then we never see them again for several episodes, and I'm like, we just
Heimerdinger actually says how long it's been. He says that
like
in
1,000 something days or something.
Yeah, they spent like 3 or 4 years or something in the abyss.
Yeah.
Or in this alternate universe or whatever it is. And I was like, okay, cool. It's a good explanation of how they're going to be able to change the plot of this and twist it how they want, because the universe that we see originally is not the universe that we'll see now with Echo in it. I was like, all right, that's fine. That's cool. I don't understand the ending to it.
Of the parallel universe stuff?
So, we see that Echo and Heimdinger finally figure out, hey, we can travel back to our universe.
And they make a time machine chainsaw. That was pretty cool.
They make it, oh yeah,
because he has to like pull the cord.
Rip the cord. Yeah,
I called it a time machine chainsaw.
Heimdinger has to like go plug something in, and so he leaves the bathysphere. So then, when the time thing happens, he gets like evaporated out of the universe, and it's like, okay, is he dead? Is he not? Where'd he go?
Did he go to a new universe? Did he?
And we see that Echo from this universe is now like on the floor, and he's not dead. He's back now, and Echo from our universe is traveling away back to our universe. But what happened to Heimdinger? And it's like, I don't. So
it's very ambiguous. I mean, he could very well be dead, or maybe because they're messing with time and shit, maybe he just got erased from existence
because he wasn't in the bathysphere at the time. But
maybe, I don't know. It's very ambiguous.
But if it was like, oh, the energies from fucking with the wild rune and harnessing the power is what killed him, it's like that doesn't make sense either. Because why did Echo survive? Why did anyone else in the building survive? Because Jinx comes down and sees, after Heimdinger disappears, she sees Echo, our Echo, in the bathysphere, like, apologizing, and then she sees her Echo on the floor. So, it's like, okay, there wasn't, like, a great surge of energy that killed Heimdinger. I don't think he's dead. he just gets zapped somewhere. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe because he wasn't in this bathysphere of time space, because it's like, oh, he has to be teleported away. But again, why does only Heimdallr get teleported? Is it like a proximity thing? Like, plot holes, dude. Plot holes abound. Like,
I don't know.
Don't open up all these fucking plot threads and not close them, man. I hate that.
I mean, to be fair, in terms of like plot threads and plot holes, this one's kind of minor compared to some of the other stuff that we've mentioned so far.
No, my major gripe with season 2 was how they ended it with the whole Victor and Jace stuff. Because again, made zero sense. Super cool. I was like, oh, Victor was alive all along, and the hellscape that Jace got sent into was actually a universe where Victor succeeded. And it's like, oh, that's actually super cool. But wait. We've seen that Victor has these abilities to see memories, and he shared it with Jace when he went into this universe. So why didn't Jace, when he came back to our universe, just do the same thing to Victor of our universe? I'm just saying, like, I need a little bit more explaining. Maybe I'm just too dumb to, like, understand, you know? Maybe I don't have a 300 IQ to understand the plot contrivances of Arcane.
Well, let me tell you something. I can tell you, there's one character we know is dead, and all of us celebrated, and that's Maddie. Because listen,
dude.
when she gets her comeuppance, first of all, I have never seen such a better example of fucking karma in all my days. As when she says, "I enjoyed your warmth," pulls the trigger, nope, Uno reverse, straight to the dome.
Yeah, the whole I was glad.
I was cheering. I was literally like, yes, let's go. Hitler is dead.
It's pretty messed up to say. So after the whole Kate and Vi situation happens and it's one and done, it's like, okay, they're broken up now. Now Caitlyn has taken a new lover, and it's Maddie. And it's like, oh, she seems like a sweet girl. Turns out she's a betrayer. She's Judas all along. And it's like, oh, well, now I don't feel bad that you got cucked. Like, oh, you were working for Mbessa this entire time? Like, oh, thank God. And then she gets fucking shot in the head. And I'm like, oh, of her, because she pulled the trigger, so it's of her own fault.
Yeah, it's funny because when this season started, because her and another guy, which I just kept calling Fish Guy because I don't know if he ever got a name. He never really talks throughout the entire season. But when they got introduced in the first episode, I kept saying to myself,
you know what he says? He says, "Come on, let's go." When the Zonites are reinforcing the battle, when they get all captured and stuff, then the Zonites come up and they start, and Jinx shows up and they all start fighting. Mm-hmm. He's the one who goes, "Come on, let's go."
The
and
they run and grab their dialogue.
I remember him saying something because I was like, I don't think he's actually spoken this entire time until now. I'm pretty sure that was his only voice line.
Single line of dialogue. But I kept thinking to myself all through the season, every time they showed up, I was like, one of these two or both of them is not going to survive the entire season. Like, for some reason, the way they were introduced just seemed like there were death flags all around them. And
well, I will
was
definitely
beginning
say
to think
that they put a red herring there, because it's like, okay, we're introduced to two new characters, Maddie and Fish Guy, and Fish Guy seems to have a disdain for Zonites and people in general, and then Maddie's like
the way he looks at Vi when he first sees her is like, this guy does not seem like he's got good intentions.
Yeah, completely. I didn't see that coming. That Maddie was actually the one who was acting nice and stuff. Maddie was the evil one, and this guy's actually a cool bro because he's like, he actually wants to save the Zonites and he actually cares about fighting for Piltover. I was like, oh, which definitely didn't see that coming.
Which was it is definitely a red herring, because when they're having that whole battle and they have like the tear gas stuff or whatever, the stuff that the grenades that make them cough and shit, when his mask falls off, I thought, is he just really selling this and he's gonna be like a double agent?
Yeah.
Like, because the whole time I'm thinking, if anyone's going to be a double agent or anyone's going to double cross Caitlyn, it's got to be him. He's been silent this entire time.
He plants the bomb, and the bomb doesn't go off because there's like something jammed in it. It's like,
and I'm sitting here thinking,
did he jam it?
He's got to be the mole. He's got to be. And then
Yeah, because they talk about that. They're like, there's someone who's a mole who's leaking all this information, which I was like, well, I mean, Mbessa's there, and her right hand man, Rick,
and she's pulling some strings. You see,
yeah. So it's like
strings.
I assumed that she, just because of her position in power already, she was just doing shit on the side. As it turns out, she had more agents on the inside, and it was Maddie.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, did not see that coming. Good job.
That's some damn
Ortiz,
good writing right there.
No, that was good. I didn't see that coming.
That was damn good setup and payoff right there.
Yeah, but yeah, when Maddie gets
great
domed,
red
I was
herring.
just, when
A
Maddie
great
gets
red
domed,
herring with Fish
I
Guy.
literally was just like, oh, thank you, thank God, I can hate her.
Like I said,
because I was feeling bad for her, because I was like, oh, she sees, because when we're first introduced to Maddie, she's just like, Kate, or Vi, we've heard about you. You fought, you're a hero amongst us. You fought for Piltover, and you're showing that not all Zonites are bad, and that we can work together, this and that, right? It's like you held off on your own fighting against Silco and his men. You went off by yourself. So she's like being idolized and being talked up by Maddie. So it's like, it seems like she's a cool person. And she's there for Kate. She's the lover that Kate takes after Vi and Caitlyn break up. So it's like, oh, and then it turns out she's a piece of shit. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because like literally before this, Kate and Vi get it on. And I'm just like, oh no,
man.
Oh, Kate, you're still with Maddie, aren't you? Like, oh, how could you cuck such a nice girl? As it turns out, she's not that nice. So it's fine now.
Speaking of things that made me celebrate, Kate and Vi finally had the sex.
Didn't they have sex in season 1?
I don't know if they did or not.
There was the whole shower scene.
Yeah, but
was it just a kid? Was it
Caitlyn
not just
was by
implied?
herself?
I thought it
Caitlyn
was
by
implied.
herself in the shower.
I honestly,
mean,
it wasn't. I don't
kissed.
remember it being explicit or anything for sure.
No, what they explicitly had the sex in season 2.
Yeah, they ended it off with Vi going down on Kate and Kate doing the O face, and I'm like, nice.
Nice, very nice.
Nice.
Speaking of things where I also cheered, just saying.
Yeah, I was like, yes, girls, get it.
Eda and I were watching that because they had that scene earlier on where they're in like the tunnels and stuff, and they have that moment where they kiss, and I'm like,
they start making out.
Is it? Are we gonna get it? Or and they get fucking cucked, and they gotta keep going. And then, like, when this scene happens in Act 3, Eden and I are just sitting there going, yes! 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 I was so convinced. I was that I was watching this. Some guard is going to come by and ruin all this shit.
Yeah.
We finally got the sex.
The whole Jinx storyline was one of my personal favorites because I feel like I had a love-hate relationship with Jinx after season 1 because it's like, okay, you're kind of evil as shit now.
Kind of crazy. Don't stick
crazy,
your dick in crazy.
You're crazy as hell, and you're ruining what Silco built out of malice, or not out of malice, out of grief.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if she could have just seen the bigger picture, it could have led to like less deaths, but she didn't care about that. She cared about losing her family again. So she gets revenge. So it's like, Jinx, you're kind of a terrible person. When she adopts Isha?
Isha, yeah, I think is how you say it.
Isha, I don't remember how you pronounce it, but
when she adopts kid.
When she adopts the new kid and she becomes the big sister, I'm just like, this is a sweet storyline. Like,
man,
oh my God, it was so good.
When she died, I think it was in episode 6. Oh my God,
episode 6 is peak. Oh my Lord!
Please don't do this to this child.
Yeah, she sacrifices herself to take out the rampaging
Vander.
Because Jace fucked it all up for everybody. By the way. Vander goes wild, and the only way to stop him is to like kill him. And Isha, however you pronounce it, sacrifices herself. Because again, when they're like, "Oh, if you want to go see the Herald, you have to drop your weapon," so everyone drops their weapon, and Jinx keeps the crystal. But then we see that Isha like looks at the gauntlets, and then the next scene we see her, she's putting something in her pocket. I'm like, this is a surprise tool. Well, this is a surprise tool that we'll save for later.
I'm just saying, set up and pay off. They set that up perfectly.
Yeah, but I was just like, I thought it was gonna be like they throw it, she's gonna throw it, and she's gonna be the hero. Like, nope, she kills herself, self-sacrifice. I was like, yo, whoa, whoa, you can't do
Which
this.
is
Literally, we just gave her dad back to Vi, or dad 2.0 to Vi, or I guess 3, no 2.0 because Silco was 3.0. To Jinx. We just gave the dad back, Vander, the pseudo father,
Vanderbeest.
Vanderbeest, back to Vi and Powder, and then we just rip him away. And then you rip away her younger sister. I'm like, yo, Jinx, I feel
As
so
much as
bad
I was
for
like,
you.
as much as I was like depresso espresso at this point, I'm like, damn, that's good writing.
That was great. I absolutely loved episode 6. It made me feel so many emotions.
Yeah.
I was just like, I felt joy, then I felt anger, and I felt sadness. I was like, oh, this is it's so compelling. It's such a good story.
Do you know what's funny is I recently learned a brand new German word that adequately describes this entire season of Arcane. It's called Verschlimmbessern, which that word in German literally means to make things worse while attempting to make them better. That one word describes this entire season in a nutshell.
Yeah, I kind of ended up hating Vi by the end of it. I was like, Vi, you're so dumb. You stupid dumb bitch. Like she's like, every choice that she makes is bad because she can't follow through with any of her choices. That's her problem.
Yeah.
She hesitates because she doesn't have follow through.
She hesitates in critical moments, which is the more important thing.
She literally chokes.
Every day she doesn't hesitate, but in critical moments when she needs to be like on guard and she chokes.
Yeah, time and time again, and it leads to her losing everything. And then she acknowledges this in universe, like, why is it that every time I choose wrong? And then she has her sex scene. And then we get to the very end where again she chooses wrong again, and I'm like, Vi, you dumb bitch, you know you have this problem. Why are you doing this? And
Vi, you ignorant slut.
Because of her actions, Jinx dies, and I'm like, fuck.
I know you're gonna say it's Cope. I don't think she's dead.
Cope, absolute Cope.
The reason I say this is, and I may be proven wrong, and who knows, but one of the final scenes, we see Caitlyn looking over like the schematics, the ones that she was looking over earlier in the season, and you see her zoom in on these like coolant duct things underneath the Hextech gate, and that's when we see Jinx fall off like the ledge down into the shaft. That's kind of where she's looking at in those schematics. And if you'll watch, you have to watch really closely and go frame by frame. But there's a frame where you see like this pink like jet thing go into one of those vents, and then I don't think they would have inserted that scene for no reason.
Absolute Cope.
And the very last scene where you see like the airship fly by, there's like one or two frames where it does like the Jinx glitch thing.
Absolute Cope.
And she's talking about it in the very first episode of Arcane back in season 1. She talks about always wanting to go on one of those airships.
I think it's absolute Cope.
I don't maybe think it's Cope. It does go to what Silco says in one of the flashbacks in this season, that the only way you can break the cycle is to just walk away, which is kind of what she tries to do by attempting to kill herself when Echo comes back, because she's got that like grenade in her hand and she pulls the pin. No,
she doesn't attempt. She does kill herself, and it's
because
Echo's back and keeps rewinding time so she doesn't die.
Yeah. And you know what's funny about that scene is that 3 times she tries to pull the pin with the grenade. On the 4th attempt, she jumps instead of pulling the pin on the grenade, because I think maybe she doesn't want to hurt Echo.
I have no idea, because she doesn't seem like she realizes that Echo has the power to like turn back time 4 seconds. But
maybe.
I think that Jinx is absolutely dead, because it doesn't make sense for her not to be with Vi anymore, because Jinx already apologized to Kate, like, sorry, I didn't know your mom was there, like, she realizes that it's her fault that a lot of this shit happened. So, she does have a character arc and resolution of like, she went crazy. It's all her fault. So you could reason that, okay, even if she did survive, she'd want to leave so that way Violet can be with Caitlyn with no problems. But
that's kind of my reasoning for thinking that she might be alive.
No. Once Jinx is captured and in jail, what does Caitlyn say? She says, I can't even hate you anymore. I'm too tired for that. Caitlyn let go. Jinx let go. So if there's no more animosity between them, there is no reason that Jinx couldn't be part of their family and at least still have her older sister and her older sister's girlfriend. That's what I'm saying. Especially like, because she knows what it's like to be an older sister now, and she knows what it's like to have familial bonds, and the whole saving Violet before Vanderbeest tries to kill her. Like, it doesn't. To me, it makes sense for her to go back to Violet, though. You could reason that she has now realized that she had a bad codependency problem, and that now she just wants to live alone and explore the world. You could reason that, and that, here's your little single thread of hope that Jinx is alive, that I will admit is possible. But it comes at the cost of Vi's sanity. Because now Violet is alone in the world, other than, she has a rich girlfriend who is like the uber
which is really what we all want at the end of the day.
Yeah, I wish I had a super hot British girlfriend who had millions of dollars. My wife stares at me. Do you have millions of dollars that I don't know about?
I got everything else.
Okay. You don't have the important thing, the millions of dollars.
But yeah, I can see it both ways. I think story-wise, it works either way. If she is still alive and you got that's really depressing for Vi, because now she has to live with the fact that she at least believes that her sister is dead, even though she's out there exploring the world.
And not only that her sister is dead, her sister is dead because of her issue of choosing the wrong fucking thing again.
Yeah. But either way, whether she's dead and gone, or whether she just chooses to walk away and explore the world and leave Vi and Caitlyn alone and just go do her own thing, she does whichever one of those it is. She does do what Silco says. She took herself out of the equation. She broke the cycle by just walking away, either through death or through choosing to just leave.
Yeah. So I'll give credit. I'll give that like a credible, like, maybe.
I don't know.
But overall, I feel like season 2...
Star Wars has taught me that no one's really dead until someone says they're dead.
But then somehow they return.
Somehow Jinx returned.
Listen, no one's actually dead. Everything's the fever dream. This is all just like an alternate universe. That's why it was glitching, actually. Like, this is someone's fanfic that we're actually reading. But I think that season 2 ends... It ends good for the story of season 2, but I think that the story of season 2 was a lot weaker than season 1. Because we had so many plot threads going on, like what was the learning about the Arcane, but not learning too much about the Arcane. It's like, okay, that's the main bad, but
yeah,
that
there were a ton of story threads, and I feel like there were probably a little more story threads than 9 episodes was going to be enough to wrap all of them up nicely. I hate to say this because, like, obviously what we got was still pretty good, but I feel like if it had had like 2 or 3 more episodes that were at least 40 minutes long, probably would have gotten some better resolution of these storylines to give them a little bit more of a chance to breathe.
My main issue with season 2 is how the main antagonist of season 2 is going to be Victor, and I'm going to call it the Singularity, because that's essentially what happens. He makes everyone into a single mind, the Singularity. That is the bad end that we're trying to avoid. And again, the biggest plot hole is the fact that Jace gets sent to an alternate universe where Victor does succeed in becoming the Singularity, and then that Jace in this alternate universe goes and travels different alternate universes and finds the one where he could possibly not do that. And it ends with it because Jace is able to see that alternate universe and goes, "Oh, you've seen this, so you know that it's bad." Jace could have ended all of this without the bloodshed if he just did it in the beginning. So that's like, why? Why didn't he just do it in the beginning? It doesn't make sense.
So something else I haven't mentioned is at the end there was a scene that I think is unintentionally funny. I don't know if it's meant to be kind of funny, but it definitely made me chuckle. So you know that person that Victor has been talking with in the sky, right? the it's essentially supposed to be a manifestation of his conscious or conscience.
He's talking to Sky. Her name is Sky.
Yeah. But it's almost like she's a manifestation of his conscience, right? Because she's just talking back at him about the things that he already should know.
Right.
I found it like I don't know if it's supposed to be intentionally funny or not, but I chuckled when at the end when she's like fading away and Victor says, "I shall miss our talks," and as she's fading away, she goes, "No, you won't." It's like that made me laugh. It's like it's literally Sky telling him to fuck off. This person who's like a manifestation of his own self-consciousness.
I think the reason for that though is because I don't think that him having that like talk with his conscious is like it's because he wanted to do what he wanted to do because of the information that he knew, right? Where he's like, the only way to truly achieve peace was to do this, and there was no way he was going to get around that. His like, because his Sky represents like his emotions and his like connection to the world still, where he still has hope, like maybe humanity can be saved. But the Victor currently inside of the shell, once he puts on the mask, already knows what the answer is. So it never mattered to him about this conversation that he was having with his own conscious about like maybe we should be better, maybe we should give them chances, stuff like that, because he made up his mind. And the only time it's visually represented is when his mask cracks that he can see past the facade. But again, he didn't have that mask until he gets rebuilt, and he still was in his spirit form. Ergo, if Jace and him just hugged instead of just Jace being a little bitch boy and attacking a man while he's sleeping, this could have been resolved so easily. I hate it. I hate how big of a plot hole that is. That's so dumb. I want someone to tell me in the comments like I'm fucking wrong, because I cannot.
Maybe it's a 50 million IQ play you just don't realize.
I just don't understand why Jace just didn't, or Victor and Jace didn't just do this in the beginning.
Hug it out. Just hug it out.
They could have hugged it out at the very beginning, and it could have been all gravy.
Yeah.
And then they could have made like you know what? Excuse me. I had to cough. I had to mute myself there. Maybe if they did that, where Jace comes back from the alternate universe and shows Victor the memories of alternate universe Victor about how there's no reason to do the singularity because it's going to lead to just emptiness and sadness. Then they could have reinforced like Mbessa being like, no, fuck that. I want the rune tech or the hex tech. I want the wild rune technology because I'm fearful of the space witches. So if they did that, that could have been a more compelling, like, it could have made Mbessa even worse of a villain and made us more fearful of, like, the witch thing. And I'm just saying this is a different route I would have taken because it makes more sense that way. It doesn't have this glaring giant plot hole.
Yeah. I mean, the way I'm going to choose to look at some of this stuff is that maybe in the future we will get a resolution to some of this stuff in other projects. Maybe they'll be hopping off points for different stories they want to tell. I definitely hope we get some kind of resolution to why the Arcane is so dangerous, because obviously we see what Victor became and how easily that was corrupted, but I want more, because like obviously that's just, I won't say cliche, but very expected trope of like humans just not understanding the misery of the things that they bring forth. Like,
I feel like it's a story as old as time. Infinite power leads to
Infinite regret.
not infinite regret, but like
With
absolute
great
power
power,
corrupts absolutely,
with
right?
great power comes great responsibility, Peter.
Yeah, well, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
And the only reason the space witches are able to use the arcane is because they have some weird thing where they just aren't corrupted by it, I guess, because they know
Mm.
better. Because they're like, we're kind of the space forces here. We're the Space Witch Force Council, and we want to make sure the world doesn't get destroyed, like the
Hmm.
other witches in the past or wizards
Yeah.
or whatever.
And they
Because
seem to have like an innate like ability to just control the arcane, whereas like
yeah,
other people have to really work at it.
yeah. So it's like, okay, these people who have the capacity to control the arcane, they have a kind of a mental fortitude to them because Mel
Hmm.
has a, when she awakens to the power of the arcane, she has a mental fortitude about her that doesn't let her ideals crumble. She's
Hmm.
not as corruptible or as easily like fucked over by the arcane as anyone else is, and that's why she gets welcomed into the sisterhood of the witches, because they're like, you have the potential to harvest this power because you can use it and you won't go crazy, like we've seen with Jace and Victor. They use it and they go crazy. It's like, okay, again, this is a compelling story about the arcane. If they just went with my route, it would have been a lot better, because then we could have said like,
Yeah.
Mbessa's scared of the arcane, but she wants to harvest it because she wants the power so she can give the arcane power to everyone else, because the Noxian values of everyone should be equal in the battlefield. So if we give
Yeah.
everyone the arcane power, then we all can blow each other up with nukes, and it'll
Well,
be
yeah, and
fair game.
she says that she like explicitly says like she wants soldiers who don't fear death.
Yeah, it's just they made Mbessa's character sloppily made, because it's like, why is she afraid of the arcane? Why would having the like the mechanical undead soldiers be better than just harvesting the arcane for yourself and like giving it to your soldiers? And like,
Mm.
I just don't understand her entire thing. She's afraid of the arcane, but she wants to utilize the arcane to make mechanical dolls that will fight in her place. How is that making it fair? I thought the Noxian. I'm getting into more plot holes. Like, the
Again,
more I think
the,
about Arcane's story, the more I'm like, this doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I feel like it's understandable enough. Granted, I don't think Mbess is anywhere near the antagonist that Silco was for sure.
And my like last complaint about Arcane season 2 is that in the last 2 episodes, they don't do jump cuts for the fights, which is awesome. Loved it.
The choreography for these fight scenes is amazing.
They do so many jump cuts prior to this, though. Like, all the fight scenes prior to the last 2 episodes have a shit ton of jump cuts. And like, am I watching a Michael Bay film here? Like, I'm getting, I can't follow what's happening.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
Like, I get saving your budget for the end, because of course,
yeah.
the end battles are probably the most
The end
more
looks
anticipated.
amazing. Like the final
Yeah.
battle at the end looks absolutely amazing.
Oh, it looks great, and it's not like it has bad animation anywhere else in the series, but there are just certain sequences where I'm just like, really, dude, you couldn't have like spent the time to actually animate this entire sequence instead of just doing jump cuts? Like, come on.
Yeah. That's another one of those things you mentioned earlier. It's like, did we need the music video at the beginning of this episode? Can we just like maybe just go straight into the episode and maybe not have these jump cuts?
Yeah, because some of the music videos make sense. It sets the theme and the mood of the episode. Other ones don't really make sense.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't need to see a fucking AMV of Violet going, I'm emo dark girl. I'm going to go fight people in an underground ring because my girlfriend broke up with me. Meh. Like,
I mean,
okay.
I will say, this is going to sound awful. She looks like she's in a lesbian relationship after that.
What does that even mean? I don't.
Do you not know the joke? It's not
No.
really a joke. It's actually quite serious. That I think it's 58 or 59% of all lesbian relationships in the United States include domestic violence.
Oh, Jesus.
I know.
That's pretty terrible. That's
It's
not
a
awful,
terrible,
actually.
it's a terrible statistic, but
I did not know that. Anyway, point is, yeah, there was a lot of questionable things in season 2. Budgetary concerns, in my opinion, for like the music stuff, the animation where they decide to cut it and like do AMVs and music for AMVs instead of like
Yeah.
showing me the story. Glaring plot holes abound.
Yeah.
I just felt like season 1 had such a strong sense of like the plot was always about Silco.
Yeah.
And
It's
it
more
all came
cohesion.
back. It all came back to Silco, and it all rounds up. And then here we are after the unraveling of Silco, and it's like, oh, everything went to shit. But everything went to shit, but not like how it was supposed to go to shit. And there's like 5 subplots for how things went to shit. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Who cares about all this? There should have been one single bad guy that we should have focused on, which should have been, like I said, the Arcane, because that's what this entire thing is about. And they thread it in with the whole Mbessa shit, and then they don't answer it. They don't.
Yeah.
They're just like,
Which
just scared of the space witches.
I think Mbessa could have been a more dynamic antagonist had there been more development for like the Arcane stuff behind the scenes.
Right.
Because especially if you wrap Mbessa up in that, which they essentially tried to do, I feel like if that had had more cohesive development, it probably would have made her a more fitting antagonist.
Look, the explanation that we got was just, your brother was going in too deep, and I had to make a choice, and I chose to save one child over the other. It's like, okay, where was all that?
Yeah.
Like, what happened to Kino? Like, it's insinuated that he got tortured to death or something by the space witches because he was lied to. That would have been a compelling story plot to do, to animate, to show me the evilness of the Arcane space witches and why the Arcane is bad. Like, I'm just very upset that they didn't do more. Like, they had so much to work with, and I get that it's because they had to close off the threads with like Vi and Jinx, the whole family stuff. But choose one, dude. Choose.
I would argue that instead of asking for more, you should ask for less. They should have had a more cohesive, contained.
Oh no,
narrative.
I would never ask for less. Like, I want more. If you're gonna show me this stuff, just show me everything else as well. Like, give me another 9 episodes,
or just give us longer runtimes on these episodes that you have.
Dude, it was like 40 minutes each. So it was a really long time run. It was a really long runtime anyway. Like,
and we got essentially throughout both seasons of this show, we got essentially what would be about 30 episodes or so worth of anime.
Yeah. I just wish that they focused more on things that I thought were more important instead of like half-assing a lot of it. They half-assed quite a lot of it, of the because again, it just makes me upset at how well written season 1 was, but how poorly season 2 seems to be written.
Yeah, and again, maybe some of the stuff with more projects, maybe these plot holes will be addressed. I don't know. I hope so. I hope it's not just like we're gonna completely forget about this and move on to something else. And I hope they don't go the route of, well, we're just gonna finish the story in some kind of alternate media, like books or whatever.
I mean, like I said, knowing Riot Games, they're gonna milk this for everything that it's worth. Hopefully, Arcane, the animated series, makes more money than it costs to produce, because I do enjoy Arcane. I did enjoy Arcane.
Yeah, for all the complaints that you and I have both leveled at this, I think both of these seasons combined have been like really well done, especially on a technical sense.
Oh yeah, for sure, on a technical sense.
And I'd love to see more of what Fortiche can do. Whether it's with Riot and League of Legends or with other stuff. Like, you know, I know we talk mostly about like Japanese studios and stuff on this podcast, but this was really well animated, and the fact that they were able to do season 1 as well as they were able to, I'd love to see them try and tackle like an original story.
I think that'd be pretty cool. But like I said, they had a very long development time, and they had a pretty big fucking budget.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking 5 to 10 times larger budget than most animation studios get to do what they have to do.
I don't know. I want to see more from these people. I want to see more of what they're capable of.
I mean, people always argue, like, is Arcane anime? in the Western perception of anime, it wouldn't be considered anime because for whatever reason, Western weebs are like anime has to come from Japan. It's like, okay, well, did you know that most animations are done in Korea and Vietnam? They
And
don't
some of them in
strictly
China now.
come from Japan. Like, and if it's and No Game No Life was written by a Brazilian. It's like, is that an anime because it was written by a Brazilian? Um, I think it's about animation style. Like,
Yeah.
to me, something is an anime if it has an animation style. To the Japanese, any cartoon is called out. It's anime. So
Yeah, SpongeBob
cartoons,
is anime to the Japanese people.
yeah, it's just Western anime. Anime is just cartoons. Deal.
Yeah. I mean, anime is literally just short for the Japanese, like, borrowing of the English word animation.
Yeah, animation. Anime is just animation. Did you make it in animate? Then it's anime. Yeah,
But it's still good. It's great animation is what it is. In my estimation.
I mean, we just wanted to talk about Arcane. Let's
We
be
really
honest here.
did.
It's just we just like talking
really
about good.
did.
I like just talking about shows in general. I don't strictly only watch anime. I watch a bunch of cartoons. I will say though the War of Rohirrim, the Lord of the Rings animated thing
the
coming
movie
out.
that's coming out.
That's being directed by an anime director, the guy who directed Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. God, what is his name?
It's not Momoroshi, is it?
I don't remember the guy's name, but the director of the Lord of the Rings animated film coming out is a Japanese director, and like it's being done by Warner Brothers Studios, I think. Warner Brothers Animation Studio. So it's like it's being animated in America or wherever Warner Brothers animates.
Kenji Kamiyama is the name of the director.
Yes, Kamiyama.
And it is being produced by Warner Brothers Pictures.
Yeah, so Warner Brothers Pictures is animating it, which is like an American thing, but it's being directed by a Japanese director. So does that make it anime? Like, I think it makes it anime. I think we should talk about it. I love Lord of the Rings, so
I wouldn't be against it necessarily. It is coming out in theaters December 13th of this year. So I mean, I would watch it for sure. Whether Arcane is anime or not, I really don't care. It's still a great animated product. Fortiche, I think, should be very proud of what they have created with these 2 seasons of Arcane. Issues that we have with it notwithstanding. I guess we can round this out by giving our scores. I originally wrote down here that I was going to give it a 9 out of 10, but talking it out.
As always, I always make you drop your scores or raise your scores because I point out so many things.
Not by as much as you think, because originally I was going to give it a 9 out of 10. I really think it's probably closer to an 8.5 out of 10 for me.
It's funny. I originally was going to say, you know what? I liked how it ended, so I was going to give it a 9 out of 10 when I first finished watching it. And then I got to actually like think about it. I was like, all right, well, does it really deserve a 9 out of the 10 if I have so many problems with like the plot? It's like, no, I judge things pretty harshly. Like, don't get me wrong, Arcane is still a great series. I just think that season 1 was a lot stronger. Like, to me, season 1 was like a 9 out of 10. Season 2 to me is like an 8 out of 10 because I don't like how they wrapped up season 2's plot stuff. It could have been done and executed way better. I question a lot of the motives around what they did. It's not that I hated it. It's not like it's a bad ending or anything like that. I just think it wasn't the best that we could have got.
Yeah,
which would have had like less plot holes. It could have been wrapped up a lot nicer.
I would definitely agree with that. I mean, if we knew that this season wasn't going to be the last, I think I would be a little more forgiving of the things that have been left dangling. I mean, if we knew there was going to be a 3rd season, then I would assume that these plot threads that were left over would, be addressed.
I would assume so. Like, again, why would they show such attention to detail for all the small things in so many other circumstances, and then in others just like, fuck it, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck?
I will say, while I give this season an 8.5 out of 10, I think between the 2 seasons, like the show overall, I would give the show overall a 9 out of 10.
I mean, if I combine the 2 scores and give a median, it's 8.5 for both
Yeah.
seasons combined.
So I mean,
Like
you and I are pretty close on what we think.
Yeah,
the
it's
score
not.
should be.
It's great. It's a great show.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong.
I think
my
one of the-
complaints about the plot stuff aside, I still think it's a great show. And you know, I'm eating crow because again, I was like, Arcane, everyone's hyping it up. It's probably not that great. Then I watched it. And I was like, fuck, everyone was right. It's pretty great.
You see it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Jon admitting he's wrong about something.
I'm not wrong a lot, but you know, I'm man enough to admit when I am wrong. I'm like, you know what? You're right. I'm wrong.
Well, I was gonna say one other thing. Oh, so one thing I will say I think is great about the way Fortiche did this is I feel like it's very accessible overall for people who have never played or have never played League of Legends. If you never even have any knowledge of League of Legends going into it, I feel like it's accessible for you. And I think if you have played League of Legends, it's got just enough nods to make it interesting to you.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. They have a lot of small details inside of Arcane that nod back to the video game. Like, you know, the whole Warwick thing. It's like, oh, Vander gets turned into Warwick, which is like a character from League. Teemo's in here. She's in one of the storybooks that the police chief is reading or something, I think, to his kid.
Mm-hmm.
I think Teemo's like on the cover of that. So they have like little things here and there that link back to League, which is cool, but
and Arcane has inspired the game too, because there's a lot of like skins from the show that have made their way into the game now.
Which just, I mean, that's just Riot making money off of it.
Yeah.
You know, like the whole KDA thing with the
and from what I've seen, I don't know exactly how true this is because I haven't really looked that deep into it, but I have heard that Riot is also going to add some characters that were originally created for Arcane into the game as champions.
Again, they're just reusing assets to print money. Like, come on. It's
Yeah,
like I said, it's Riot. I fully expected them to capitalize on everything that they put their money into.
And I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. Like,
it's not
great business sense.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's not a negative thing. I'm just saying it's a very predictable Riot thing.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. That's Arcane season 2. Crazy. It's been a long road. 9 years.
God, 9 years.
But we're finally to the end. Unless you got anything else to say to finish us off, I'll go ahead and sign us out here.
We were talking about this for 30 minutes longer than I wanted to.
Well, on that,
what happens when you let me complain? I will sit here and just complain.
Listen, when you just give him an open mic, he will use it. He will 100% use it.
They gave me 40 minutes. I'm using every damn minute.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for dropping in to watch us talk about Arcane. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you saw and want to see more. Let us know down below in the comments what you thought about Arcane and what you hope Fortiche does with any kind of League of Legends projects that they will be doing in the future. Also, check down below if you want to find links to Anime Club After Dark on Twitter, Discord, all the places that we upload stuff to. We also have a link to our merch store down there where you can buy Anime Club After Dark merch if you want to help us out that way. With all that being said, I have been your host, Alex, and we will see you next time. Say goodnight, Jon.
You know, now that I think about it, they never delivered on what I asked them to do, which was give me Seraphina. So actually, 0 out of 10. Terrible season.
Watch the very next project be solely dedicated to Seraphina.
Seraphina and her idol activities, I would fucking die. Like,
that's literally the whole thing. The whole fucking show is just all about that.
If only.
All right. Out.